Good Sunday morning, Northeast Ohio. What a difference a week makes. For the third straight presidential election cycle, we are using the word historic. Donald Trump winning Ohio by nearly 11.5 points, building on his 8-point wins in 2016 and 20. And in the process, Bernie Moreno was able to ride that wave to a nearly 4-point win over three-term incumbent Sherrod Brown in that all-important race for U.S. Senate. Now, despite the long lines at many polling places, this is a time-lapse of the line I took outside of a polling place in Parma Heights Tuesday. Turnout was actually down over 2020 and 16 in many spots. Now, if you're one of those who didn't vote because you think my vote doesn't really count, I want you to consider the race for Cuyahoga County Council in District 6 in pink here along the western and southern borders of the county. The battle between longtime Republican incumbent Councilman Jack Schron and Democratic challenger Robert Schlepper ended up with only 17 votes separating them out of 60,000 votes cast. Now, the race will ultimately be decided by the late vote by mail ballots that came in between Election Day and yesterday, and the provisional ballots that were cast. And doing a quick count, I found that there are more than 1,100 of them. Those results we won't know until the races are certified in 3 weeks. All right, to that Senate race. And Bernie Moreno, the Cuyahoga County businessman who first ran 2 years ago against JD Vance and a slew of others to fill Rob Portman's seat. He dropped out of that race at Donald Trump's urging and then got into this year's contest to challenge Sherrod Brown, picking up the endorsements of both Trump and Vance, which was the difference in his primary with Matt Dolan and Frank LaRose, and in his head-to-head with Sherrod Brown itself. Tuesday night, he said he wanted to bring Ohio together, and on Wednesday, he talked about building bridges with the communities that didn't vote for him.
In Franklin County, Cuyahoga County, certainly my hometown, Hamilton County, Lucas, Summit, Lorain. How do we reach out to the communities there? Because obviously they're not, it's a failure on me. The people in that community didn't vote for me, which is my fault. And so I look at it and go, what did they not see in my campaign where they thought I wasn't for them? So we're gonna work hard on that.
All right, not to bury the lead here, which I guess I kind of did. Tuesday was also a history-making night for the state of Ohio because even though we lay claim to 8 U.S. presidents, we've never had a vice president from Ohio. But that will change Monday, January 20th, when JD Vance will raise his hand and take that oath of office. Kind of fits in here with the beard. Actually, even more so if you tweak it to black and white. Yeah. It was actually 2 years ago today, November 10th, 2 days after he won that Senate seat, I asked Vance this. When this stage was set in the primary, Tim Ryan versus JD Vance, I said to myself and others that whoever wins this race will immediately be thrust into the national conversation of their party. We're going to have a presidential election coming up in less than 2 years. Would you be open to being part of your party's ticket?
You're the first person who's asked me that, and certainly not. I think my wife would kill me, and probably a few other people as well. Look, I mean, I look at this as I just completed a very long job interview and I got the job. And part of that job is I served 6 years to do the people's work in the state of Ohio. That's what I plan to do. I think that we'll be effective at it. People won't always agree with me, but I'm certainly not looking for another job.
Obviously, his opinion evolved on that. Vance was only 38 when he went to the Senate 2 years ago, the second youngest member at the time. Now, when he takes the oath of office on January 20th, he will be the third youngest vice president ever, behind Richard Nixon and John Breckinridge. Of course, who replaces Vance in the Senate is now up to one person and one person alone, Governor Mike DeWine.
Well, we've had a few people interested, so yeah. Some people have already contacted me. I've already met with some people at their request.
So just what is it DeWine is looking for?
Someone who wants to get things done every day and will stay focused on it.
Names that have surfaced include Vivek Ramaswamy, who ran for the GOP nomination for president, former Ohio GOP chair Jane Timken, who was Rob Portman's pick to replace him in the Senate in that 2022 primary, won by Vance, Secretary of State Frank LaRose, and Matt Dolan, who ran in both of those Senate primaries. And remember, he was DeWine's endorsed pick this year over Moreno. Now, Moreno said this week, while he knows it's exclusively DeWine's choice, he expects to have some input.
I'm hoping that we can at least provide some input on some names and people that we'd have. The natural follow-up question is that, have I thought about it? I have not put enormous amounts of effort into thinking about who that would be, but I will starting tomorrow put enormous amount of effort into thinking who that should be.
Now, interesting to know, Moreno said this on Tuesday night in talking about JD Vance.
He is going to be an incredible vice president. I can't wait to have him leave his office so I can be the senior senator from Ohio.
Historically, though, when someone in the Senate moves into vice president or president, in the case of Barack Obama, they may be inclined to resign their seat early, a lot of times in late December or early January, to give their appointed replacement seniority over the incoming class of senators. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, though, both stepping down just days before their inaugurations. Now, if Vance does step down early and a replacement is named and sworn in, it would make Moreno, even though he was elected before the still-to-be-named appointment, still the state's junior senator. Vance's replacement, by the way, will still have to run again in 2 years in 2026 to fill out the remaining 2 years of Vance's term. Where America votes, I'm John Kosich. Enjoy your Sunday.